Okay, I don't even know if this is working. I'm just going to check to see if this is coming through on my channel. Okay, this is my first ever live stream. I don't even know if anyone's going to be watching this. Oh, apparently there's one person watching. I don't know if that's me. Perhaps it's me. I don't know. So there's been a... Okay. One second, get a bit of a weird feedback here. 1 second. Just need to turn the volume down on the... Apparently there's one person watching. I don't know if that's me. Perhaps it's me. I don't know. There we go, turn that down. It might just be me who's watching this, I'm not entirely sure. Perhaps I'm just rambling into nothingness, but I thought I'd give this a go and make this my first live stream. So so here we go. I think what I'll do in future is I will announce it. I'll do short announcements and kind of get the ball rolling that way. But for the time being, maybe there's no one watching this, maybe no one will ever watch this until I announce it. So we'll see how this kind of plays out. So I'm going to do hopefully a short tutorial based on creating a concept art scene of it's going to be in monochrome, and it's going to involve creating a background and putting a character in there riding a dragon. So I've got that as reference. So this is kind of what I'm aiming to do. This is something I created recently. And yeah, without further ado, let's just take it away and see how we go. It looks like this is it. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reduce that there, and I'm going to open up Photoshop. There we go. And I'm going to start painting away. So there we go. How exciting. My first live stream. Hopefully one of many. So when you first start creating your paintings, as I've for anyone who is perhaps not watching this right now, but someone who might be watching in the near future, hopefully this saves. My name's Jason Etienne. I'm a games art lecturer. I'm currently games art, well, course director at Coventry University, teaching games art and all that fun stuff. Dealing mainly with 2D concepts, also using 3D, so playing around with ZBrush, Mudbox, 3D Coat, and all that good stuff, and also game engines like Unreal Engine, Unity. So really it's the whole ball of wax that that we teach there. My background is I used to work in the film industry many years ago. Some of you may have seen some of the films that I've worked on. One of the biggest ones I ever worked on was a film called Kick-Ass. You may have seen this. and a whole bunch of other films like Alexander, some uncredited like X-Men First Class. I worked on that a little bit, and yeah, a whole bunch of other films that I've worked on. But now I teach primarily games art. So let's get cracking. So I'm going to start with working on the background. So you may be able to see on the in Photoshop, I've got it cropped. So I've got this kind of letterbox thing going on, and I've got a layer here, and this is going to be my main layer. I'm going to just name this. I'm going to call this background. Okay. It's good practice to name your layers, particularly if you've got lots of layers. We're probably not going to have too many layers here going on with this exercise, but this is primarily where we're at. And I'm going to start off by using the gradient tool. So this is going to be all in monochrome, so no color. We're just dealing with values here. And I'm going to, so I've got it set at about sort of 67% there. I'm just going to start dragging down. So I've done a couple of drags there, and I might even go in and just start putting in some splodges there. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, the document is A4. I've currently got the resolution set at 100 pixels. So depending on it, if you've got some kind of real powerful, like gaming tower, or something with like a super kind of graphics card, NVIDIA graphics card, like 1060, 1070 NVIDIA graphics card, then you might be all right. I'm working on a MacBook Pro here, and it starts to lag if I work at 300, so I'm going to step this up, but I'm primarily going to start at 100. So I put some white in there. So these are going to form part of the cloud. So I'm just kind of randomly putting them in there. I'm then going to go to the smudge tool, and I'm going to start really just kind of smudging part of that, and just try and be loose. I always say to my students, try and go from the general to the specific. You don't really want to go into super detail here. All we're doing at the moment is just relaxing, easing into it. I'm putting some clouds in here. This is all going to change as well, so it's not like all the marks that you're making are going to remain. It's all going to change. So I'll put a bit of that in there. I'm now going to switch brushes, so I'm going to go back to my brush. I'm going to use a soft brush, and I'm going to change the size of that, and also change the opacity. Take it down low. I want it lighter in this area here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a bit of light in there. I might even just bump up the opacity there. So the light source is coming from this area, and I'll take some of that down as well, and then go back to this tool and just mess around with that again. So really just trying to get it. So as you can see already, you're starting to get a sense of, I've not put a lot of detail in there. I've just used a smudging tool, but you do start to get a sense of clouds. So you might have heard the phrase before, less is more. And it's very much the case with this, just try and be sparing in what you're doing. So now I've put those lighter tones in there. I'm now going to go in with darker tones. I'm going to switch my brush. I'm going to go back to, now it's not saved the settings for some reason, so I'm just going to go back to brush 14. I might just need to go back into the brush settings and put on the pen pressure and the dynamics, scattering, and this time I'm going to switch to black, and I'm going to put in some darker clouds there. Okay, So you can imagine it, this is kind of like a lot of play of light going on, right? There's a sort of an unspecified light, you know, it's the sun, but it's kind of unspecified because it's a little bit hazy. So what you're doing really is you're kind of playing around with some of these values. A little bit of lag on there, I think it's because I'm recording, but not to worry. I'm just trying to kind of keep it very, very loose. Yeah, not specific. I might just switch it over to white and put some of the white in there. And I'm not going to put any kind of a fancy effects on there as yet. I'm just going to kind of try and get a feel. I think this is it. I think, you know, working as, you know, when you're doing this kind of stuff like concept art, you want to be thinking in terms of really just trying to have some fun, loosen up, particularly if you're a student. You know, you want to be thinking about playing, really playing and having a sense. Also using reference. Excuse me. Reference is a good thing. So don't, you know, it's good to work from imagination, but also it's good to look from sources. I mean, this, for example, you know, I was working partly from imagination. I did look at some other photos, you know, particularly like black and white stuff. So you want to look at, you know, photographers like Ansel Adams and all these other people, you know, using kind of black and white photography. But it could be anything. And also look at other concept art. Yeah, but you do want to be working for, I think if you're a student, you also want to be using reference as well. So again, I'm going to just put some stuff in there. I might even switch brushes again. Use a soft brush again, take it up, take the opacity down, and just kind of lighten things up. Just try and kind of create things that are soft. Now, another tool that you can be using is the lasso tool, and this is good for example, if you want to. Again, you could use layers. I could create another layer, and perhaps if you're not so sure, you could do that. I tell you what, let me just do that. I tend to kind of try to stick to one layer. I'll call this clouds. And I'm going to use the lasso tool to kind of create, you know, get more of a sort of defined kind of cloud shape going on there. Let's bring it all the way around. And then what I can do is I can use the gradient tool and just bring that down like that. Maybe even a little bit darker there. Okay. Like that. Control, or sorry, well, depends if you're working on PC, Control D. If we've got a Mac, Command D. And again, I put that in there. It doesn't look too hot at the moment, but then when I start working into it, yeah, softening that up, it starts to look a bit more believable. So I just put that in there really just to get an idea of the overall shape. Again, you've got to resist the temptation to kind of go too detailed. I can already feel like a pull. You've got to resist that. Like, you know, you might think, oh, that looks really cool, and you know, you're tempted to kind of start working into it and creating more details. So resist the temptation. And I might even use the lasso tool again to create another layer. Okay, so this is pretty cool, because what you can do is this. You can invert this. So if I go to, excuse me, there we go, inverse. So it flips what I've selected. I can use then the brush just to kind of create like a bit of a division, right? And then I can flip it back round again. And this time what I can do is I can use the darker color. So, you know, it just creates a bit more depth, yeah? You don't want it looking too flat. You know, to get some interesting cloud shapes. So you can certainly spend a long time doing this if you like, or as little, depending on, you know, it sort of also depends on what you've got in terms of a deadline. If you're a student and you're just playing around, then, you know, you could spend a long time just exploring this. And it's a good opportunity to explore the functions in Photoshop, you know, with the tools. And I think you really do need to do this. Play is really, really important for your development. So there we go. I'm just kind of using the smudge tool. And that's looking interesting. Again, I might flip back to excuse me, using the soft brush.